Hello there, and welcome to Minute Mix Tips. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my philosophy again of mixing with everything up on the board and playing while you're getting your basic sounds. Whenever I have thought to myself when hearing a song on the radio that really impressed me, and I think, wow, what a great snare drum sound that is, what I'm really saying is, wow, what a great context that snare is fitting into. So today I want to talk about a very sort of small sounding snare drum and about drum replacement. And I want to talk about why you use snare samples. And for me, it's to achieve a specific purpose. Either I want to do a lot to the snare drum that's been recorded that I can't do because I bring in too much leakage from the hi-hat primarily and maybe the overheads or the kick. And I go to a snare replacement sound, a sample, because I need to be able to affect the snare drum that's been recorded without any leakage. And in this song I'm going to play you today, I went to a snare sample in order to bring a sizzle to the track that I couldn't get from the snare that was recorded no matter how hard I tried. So take a look. Here on the screen is the snare drum. Here's the actual recorded tracks. That's a top and a bottom mic. As you can see, all I've done to it is this very simple Neve EQ. That popped up on my other screen, so let me drag it down. And let's see, what have I done? I've just added a little top end. I've added 3.2 dB at 10K. You know, so listen to the track for a second. So here's that snare drum. Boy, that's just a pretty basic piccolo snare tuned really high. There's not a whole lot you should try to do with that. You shouldn't try to make it a big bottomy snare, nor should you try to make it a real sizzly snare. One thing I could have done to the bottom snare is let's listen to what this SSL set to a really bright bottom would have done. That's with. That's without. To me that wasn't, I mean that's the most I can do to a bottom snare and get away with it in my opinion, and it didn't really help me too much, so I discarded that idea. But the snare needed to have more presence in the track. Here, and by the way, here's that track without the sample I added, listen. Just a little too raw for me. Here's what I added. Now here's that sample solo. And what that was really giving me, yes, there's bottom end to that snare sample, but what I really wanted was a stereo spread of sizzle. So that's a mono sample, as you can see. Here's the EQ I added to it. I added a ton of top end, 13.5 dB at 10K. And I rolled out some of the tubbiness, which was, I found that at about 56 cycles, and rolled out about 5 dB, left the mid-range alone. This original snare provided me with plenty of mid-range. And then I sent it to a micro pitch shift and a reverb. Let's listen to that sound of just the sample. Nothing on the snare aux. And I'm scrolling down. Here is the return for the reverb I used. Just this really nice ultra reverb plate. Very basic plate sounding reverb. And to get the stereo spread and even more top end, a little of this Aphex Aural exciter and micro pitch shift to give it the spread. Let's listen to the snare without the spread. You know, it goes back to mono. I hope you're listening on good headphones or speakers. And here's that stereo spread. That gave the track a width and dimension. And it's a nice sort of jazz fusion kind of rock track. Okay, that's about all we have time for today. And again, the big picture for me is not over EQing a snare drum that's been recorded well, that has its own character. If you want to change the character, it's not a bad idea to go with snare replacement that's done with a really good replacement device. And it's also best not to over EQ anything that's going to bring a lot of leakage in, but it's most important to listen to your snare drum in context with your the song that you're mixing with the rest of the instruments. Happy mixing. We'll see you next time for Snare Drum Part 2.